Welcome, everyone. We are really delighted today to start our webinar, and we're joined today by Mayor Bogdan of Kopyshyntsi. You can see in the chat, and I'll repost again, information about where Kopyshyntsi is in the Ternopil Oblast, if you don't already know, and some more information about the Hromada. Of course, we have the mayor of Kopyshyntsi. We also are joined by Suzanne Leblanc, a participant in the virtual service pilot program of the U.S. Peace Corps, who has known Mayor Kelechavi for a long time and works with him closely now in her service in the virtual service pilot program. And so thank you to both of you so much for taking the time to be here. We know you have a lot to do. We know you're very busy, and we're really grateful that you're joining us for this conversation today. I'll go ahead and turn things over to Roman Alexenko, who will be our moderator today, and we can get our conversation started.
Hello, Suzanne. Hello, Bogdan. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see so many of you coming back for our sessions. I usually begin with the same question, and the audience is very familiar with the question. What is Ukrainian victory for you? What has to happen in order for Ukraine to say it's the victory, it's Ukraine's victory? Bogdan, would you like to begin?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Bogdan. I'm the mayor of Kopyshyntsi, and yes, the victory for me is the possibility for development in Ukraine and integration towards further integration towards Europe, security in Ukraine, and also elimination of any threat on Ukraine or Europe. So what here in Ukraine mostly we want to do is to keep developing and keep contributing to the democratic world with democratic values, and we want to be able to do it freely without any other difficulties or situations and war and invasion. We want to be strong and secure, and this would enable us to be ourselves and again contribute.
Thank you, Bogdan. Suzanne, what do you think?
Well, I agree with everything Bogdan has said. And I think for me, victory is for Ukraine to have all of its territory and to have no threat of invasion, and to, yes, be able to live freely and without and securely, and to be able to develop to its highest potential. I think Ukraine has incredible potential, and I'd like to see more of that taking place.
Thank you. I wish political leaders on both sides of the ocean shared the same opinion about Ukraine's victory, whether present or incoming. Let's begin our interview. And as I usually do, I have a bunch of questions that I already prepared for you. But if we have a question coming from the audience, I'll probably put my questions on hold and make sure that all of the questions from our audience are answered, that everybody's happy. So, Suzanne, we've known each other I don't think we've met in person.
No, we haven't.
But I've heard so much about you since I joined several years ago. I think we met, I want to say it was maybe 7 or 6 years ago, at a conference dedicated to decentralization reform that was going on in Ukraine at the time. And so you don't know, but this is my Peace Corps. And at that time, you already were a mayor of Kopyshyntsi. I would like for you to tell your story, and why, you, one of the youngest mayors, in my opinion, have chosen to run for the mayor's position of your town, because you're originally from Kopyshyntsi. And we want to make sure that we say the name of your community right. It's Kopyshyntsi. Because
It is indeed.
I remember making a mistake in one email, my first initial email to you. I made two mistakes. I made a mistake in your first name, and I made a mistake in your community. And I will never, from that point on, I will never forget that. But
Don't worry about that. It's a common mistake, and it's just the name of the town is a bit complicated as well as the my last name is. So that's normal.
yeah,
Don't
but
worry.
what you told me then, when we met a few years ago, you said I was a teenage boy when a Peace Corps volunteer my family. So you brother to a Peace Corps volunteer probably 15 or 17 years ago, or maybe more than that, maybe close to 20 years ago, something like that. Um, and I do remember that volunteer, the first volunteer whom I visited when I received my role in the Peace Corps. Um, could you tell your story? Like what happened between the time you hosted the Peace Corps volunteer, and I want you to tell us how you met Suzanne too. Very important, something that you've told recently, and to where you're now.
Yeah, sure. We'll try to put it as short as possible, but um, yes, when you entered my house when I was still a boy, um, yeah, you introduced to us a new Peace Corps volunteer, and we um, gladly hosted that Peace Corps volunteer, and her name was Kate, and we still are friends. We still are in touch, and but my family, I think my family was so open to the new Peace Corps volunteer to host her was because Suzanne was hosted by our neighbors across the street some years before that. And this was already a good reputation and trust for the organization, and also a good opportunity for, I think my parents would see it a great opportunity for their kids to learn better English and to be more internationally oriented. And yeah, I think this influenced me, and I also always had this like two directions in life, two hobbies on two interests. It was like I was trying to be as much as possible exposed in international development, in the international people that were around, and I like to travel. I was studying abroad, but also at the same time, I was always interested in local governance. And when the time was right, and um, this was a chance, because in Ukraine 10 years ago, our government started the decentralization reform, which allowed. Which made, I think, local governance more influential, more prestigious, and there were a lot of organizations supporting this reform. So I applied for the US aid funded project as a staff worker, and I was helping to support those newly created municipalities in Ukraine. And after some time of consulting and working with projects and grants, I wanted to get a more practical experience in fields, and also maybe also had this like patriotic, locally patriotic feeling that with the knowledge I had, I could improve my municipality, I could make it a better place. And what we see now, it is very much like internationally oriented municipalities. So this like two directions in me are implemented in my town already, in the municipality, and we're working more and more on that.
Well, this is fascinating, and just to kind of like tell you how I feel about today's session, I feel like we're doing like some kind of reality show, because Kate George just popped in, and Kate George, as you mentioned, she was staying with you 20 years ago, and she sent a message to the team. And first she raised her hand, but I guess we could not really hear her. But she said, "From Kate George, this is Kate George, agency volunteer. I wanted to say hi to both." So not only do we have Suzanne, we have Kate.
Wait, do you mean she is here in this
She's in
she's
the
watching
room,
this?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, hello,
Yes.
Kate.
she's, and I did not invite her. I tried to, but I couldn't find her email address. Somehow, I
Hi.
guess she's following you on Facebook, and she saw that you're going to be talking today. So if we're like in a real studio,
Nice.
like I would probably invite Kate, like, hey, now that 20 years from now, see where you are.
Yeah, wow, nice. I'm glad to know that Kate is watching this. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you, Kate. Suzanne, but you were there first, right? You came to Ukraine and you came to Kopyshyntsi late 90s, I want to say.
1998. I was a Peace Corps volunteer for 3 years in Kopyshyntsi, from 1998 to 2001. I went home. I was supposed to go home on September 12th, in 2001, but of course, because of the terrorist attack on the World Trade Centers, and I was delayed going home. But yes, I spent 3 years there, and Bogdan was just a little guy. He was, I think, in first, like first through third grade, first through third grade. And I knew his mom and dad very, very well. And yes, I was hosted by a family across the street, and I loved it. I actually consider Ukraine my second home in terms of where my heart is. I was there. I went back a couple years after my service. I think it must have been like, I don't know, 2004, something like that. And then I was there recently in September of last year. I stayed for a couple of weeks, and it was amazing to me the changes from 2001 to 2003. It was quite phenomenal, and I think the work that Bogdan and his city council and city employees have done is pretty incredible, especially in a time of war, of full-scale invasion, that not, and I want to talk about, because I think Bogdan can really talk about the international work that he's doing that has been so impactful for Kopyshyntsi, but also, but what I would like to talk about is what's happened for the town and for the villages around. I mean, we look at, if you follow their Instagram, which I follow and look at religiously, you can see that there are repairs to roads and sidewalks, putting up street lights. There was a big hailstorm there not too long ago, and the grants and the work that was done to help with repairs. And it's just really phenomenal to see that kind of work being done, because when I was there as a volunteer, I don't think there was any effort made to, make those kinds of repairs to make the city better. I mean, granted, we often did not have electricity, we didn't have water, and, there were all those, infrastructure type of issues. But I'm very proud of the work that Bogdan has done, and it's pretty incredible. I mean, Kopyshyntsi has always been a very progressive town. His parents are both doctors. The friends are doctors, business people, and it's very nice. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's fine. That's really moving. I think that's what stands apart our series from all other webinar type events. We're trying to tell people's story. We try to show that there is some connection over the years, impactful. Group were you? You must have been like group 12 or 13 in the Peace Corps.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're asking that. Because
I
I
told
don't
you I
remember.
put people on the spot. Yeah.
I know I do not remember what group I was, but I came as an environmental group, and it was a very small group. I can't believe I don't know my group number. It was a very small group, and I think it was 11. I really do, because I think group 10 was a business group. Um, it might have been group 12. And because anyway, so yes, I was with an environmental group, and we had environmental educators and NGO developers. And I was an NGO developer because of my experience working with nonprofits here in the States. And actually, the people who hosted me, the gentleman owned a sausage factory, and he wanted to make what do we call it? We call it organic sausage. And so I got grants. He went to America to learn, more about wastewater management. And then those Americans came to the United States to look at his factory. And so there was, and then I also had an ecology club. Bogdan's older brother, Arsene, was in the ecology club, and we put on a play based on the Little Prince, but it was a fox and a sunflower. So that's kind of how our interpretation of it. We even took the whole group to Kyiv and presented to a group there, an ecology group, environmental group.
Now that you're telling us all of these stories, I think we had to meet actually, because the Peace Corps was my first job before I left and then rejoined. And I joined the Peace Corps in '09 as a language trainer. So we have to have met then in Cherkasy, because Cherkasy was the
Well, we
training.
had to have, yes, because I was in Cherkasy. That's where I did my training, and I lived with Mama Polina, who I loved dearly. And oh my goodness, I'm going to forget names, but Natasha Shaban was one of the staff people,
Yep.
as well as some others. But anyway, yeah, I had a terrible time learning the language, but I did okay.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't your language teacher then.
No, you were not.
Because I would feel responsible.
No, I would have been much better. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. It was hard, but I did okay.
Yeah, but this is still, despite not feeling like you have mastered the language, you've remained connected to Ukraine, and you've remained connected to the town of Kopyshyntsi all of these years. And we're about to tell. Yeah, we're about to tell story and Bogdan stories of ongoing virtual collaboration. And just kind of like to mention that Kate George also mentioned that last year she did a virtual service. She was a virtual service pilot participant in Kyiv. So just because you've served as a volunteer in the town Kopyshyntsi doesn't mean that there's nothing you can do for Ukraine virtually in these trying times. Well, let's
Yeah. So go ahead.
I have an objection.
An objection.
Yes.
Let's hear your ups. Yes.
I totally disagree that Suzanne didn't master the language, because after like 20 years of not being here, she came back last year, and she was like, on her own, like all day, speaking Ukrainian to locals and remembering them all. Their personal stories. Like, I wish I had such a great memory as she does. And we also had to prove my objection. I can share with you later maybe the video that Suzanne recorded. Like, we recorded the video of her speaking to Kopyshyntsi people before she was living last year. And this was like quite a good Ukrainian, maybe like my English.
Okay, well, I will look forward to watching that video. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about your community. Especially since you became the mayor, and I think you being elected as mayor coincided with Ukraine launching a massive decentralization reform, which gave more power to the local governments as opposed to central governments, and which delegated more authority down to the low level, to the bottom level. Therefore, going away from the old Soviet types of planned administrative economy. So can you please tell us what have been the most exciting but also challenging times for you as a mayor? And if you can briefly talk about Kopyshyntsi after the full-scale invasion, if anything has changed, and if so, what has? And especially what's your role has been?
So the decentralization reform started 10 years ago, maybe it's a bit difficult to understand for American people, because you never have been you have never been centralized to be decentralized. But what it meant to us is that previously we had such a structure of the local governance when we had this state, regional, district, and municipal level, and we had like every small village had their own council, and most of them were like coordinated by the district administrative center. And what happened is that our district level got almost eliminated, and those local municipalities got merged with one to another, which basically meant on our municipality that we have like a town of 7,000 people, about 7,000 people, and also villages. So altogether, this is like 14,000 people. Before the decentralization, we had 8 mayors and 8 councils and 8 staff teams. Now we have just 1 mayor, but 1 council, but we got some of the revenues directly to this formation, and also we get more responsibilities, and we can directly communicate right now with the central government, and sometimes also coordinate with the regional government. And I was, as I mentioned before, I was working for the USAID funded project that was supporting this reform, because at the beginning this reform was voluntarily, so not everybody was forced doing that. And those municipalities who were brave enough to amalgamate, to merge together, to get rid of the district influence, they were supported by us. So some period of it, I was working as a consultant, as a local economic development expert. But for the last 4 years, I've been working as a mayor since I won the elections. And as my wife Maria says, this is the worst time possible to be a mayor, because we started from COVID, in the middle of COVID. I remember we had like these fights with the vaccination. We had to convince people. And after that, we got a full-scale invasion. And it also influenced our municipality, our town, and challenges. Maybe main challenges before the invasion, the full-scale invasion, were that we were just young people, won the elections, and we got so much pressure from the previous actors, from the previous government, local government. But we survived. So this first year was quite difficult in terms of that. But then when we settled everything down, and when we organized our teams around, and everything started functioning quite well, we got the full-scale invasion. And as a result out of that, we are located far from the war zone, but we still got quite an influx of internally displaced people. We don't call them refugees because they displaced in the same country. So these are some other Ukrainians who came from the regions that are closer to the war zone. And we also got a conscription campaign and mobilization. So as of now, we have 25 people of our community who died, became heroes protecting democracy and Ukraine. 7 are missing, and 1 is still in captivity. So, of course, in such a small municipality where everyone is related to everyone, it's quite a difficult, also like a challenge to deal with. And we also try to pay respect and help our mobilized mobilized soldiers, but at the same time, we also help our newcomers. We also help municipalities from eastern part of Ukraine. We relocated 1 factory. We relocated partially 1 charity fund, and do a lot of projects here. So a lot of changes, a lot of difficulties, and it's also quite difficult to imagine. It was quite difficult to imagine what would be our development, because something comes up all the time.
Thank you, Bogdan. And I can only imagine what you and your fellow community members have to go through. And um, my utmost respect goes to the families of those soldiers who've lost their lives defending Ukraine. It's really hard to go from here. But just wanted to kind of like to let you know that I have a high respect for you, and to me, you symbolize a young generation of civil society leaders, because we're talking about the role of civil society and resistance and resilience in Ukraine. But you symbolize a young, progressive, highly educated, and motivated individual who went from being born in your community, knowing your community in and out, um, studying abroad, because you lived in Canada. I understand you lived in Canada and you got one of your degrees in Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I lived in Canada, but I was studying in Estonia and France.
Okay, sorry, and France, and lived in Canada. So basically, you've been exposed, and I think you kind of represent the minority of people in your community who have traveled the world, who have lived abroad, who and who didn't stay there, because most people, once they leave Ukraine, they never come back. We have to admit, we have to be realistic. But you did come back. Not only did you come back, you ran for a mayor and you were elected mayor. So uh, and we'll talk a little bit about the partnerships that you're forging, but I remember when in my role as a community development program manager, I traveled around Ukraine in 2016 and 2017. I got to meet dozens and dozens of young people coming from the civil society sector, oftentimes with some um, Western education, and those people would usually speak quite a bit of English, at the time, and other languages as well, which what stood them apart from the old cohorts of the Soviet type older individuals running the community, being accused of corruption and whatnot. And again, I just want to kind of acknowledge that, and then slowly transition to the next question, which is about the ongoing virtual collaboration that Suzanne is being part of. So I remember reaching out. No, it wasn't me reaching out to anyone. It was Suzanne who reached out to us, the Peace Corps, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I want to do something meaningful for Ukraine. I want to do something meaningful for the community of Kopyshyntsi. Can we make this happen?" So we went from there. It was not the Peace Corps advertising these opportunities. It was not you who came to the Peace Corps for these opportunities. It was Suzanne, your former Peace Corps volunteer. And now I think we're in the 4th month of the virtual engagement.
I
Sometimes,
think so. Yeah,
sometimes
about that.
so yeah. Um, so Suzanne, why were you what drove you to apply to serve as a virtual service participant for the Peace Corps, and what it is that you're helping um um friends and family, I would say family in Kopyshyntsi with?
Yes, yes, they are my family. It's interesting. I came late to the whole technology thing of getting a cell phone and getting onto social media. And as soon as I got onto social media, that's when I really started connecting with my friends in Kopyshyntsi. And then Bogdan said he was going to be at a international mayors city managers conference in Columbus, Ohio, and at the time I was living in Cincinnati, and he said, let's meet. So we met. We got to spend a good part of the day together, and he made me promise that I would come to Ukraine while he was still mayor, and so I did. And when I went there, I saw how much was being done and the work that he was doing in person. I mean, sure, I saw it on social media, but to see it in person, and I really made a connection with the Alina, who was the at the time the communications director. I think she's since gotten a promotion or has new responsibilities. And I think that then shortly after that, I was on something on Facebook, and there was it was a little short video, and Tatiana Hayaduk was on there. And so I left a message on Facebook saying, you know, I'd love to have Tatiana contact me. And she did. And at first she didn't know who I was. And then I reminded her, she's like, oh my gosh, yes. So we emailed back and forth, and she connected me with you, Roman. And that's when I said, I'd like to do this virtual Peace Corps or virtual service pilot program. And you set up a meeting with Bogdan and Alina and I, and we discussed several options. And we thought developing a strategic plan, because they currently have a strategic plan that was developed by the previous municipal administration, and that was running out. They wanted to do a new one, and that was something, having worked in nonprofits my whole life, I had a little bit of experience with. So I said, let's run with that. And we're in process. We're moving along. We're doing quite nicely. And we hope to, by the end of the year, actually have a strategic plan in place that would be approved by the city council.
That is fascinating to me, you know, how it's all like how we started building this together, like initiative coming from you, but then the people were ready for you. They knew you, and now I'm just amazed, like Peace Corps was able to just to match. Basically, it's a shout out to anyone who has some connection to Ukraine, has traveled to Ukraine in the past, and already have some friends, whether in the local government or in the nonprofit sector, that say, hey, we need your help. How can we make it happen? And that's the beauty of the virtual service program, you know, in the absence of the real volunteers, that we can easily match you with the existing organization, and have you provide some support to them. And we have a question from Andy Lennox already, but I want to just maybe give a chance to Bogdan to comment on this ongoing virtual collaboration. What do you feel like it's working? Do you feel like you're getting what you need?
Yes, of course I do. And also, if we come a little bit back, like to the previous question, and I also admire what you do, Roman, and I know that you're doing a lot of volunteering for Ukraine and for the armed forces of Ukraine supporting us. So thanks a lot for what you do. And yes, we met with Suzanne at the ICMA International City and County Managers Association. And why as a Ukrainian mayor, I would be at this conference is because in Ukraine, also important, like unlike in the United States mostly, we have this structure where the mayor is also a city manager. So the mayor is also a CEO and in charge of operational activities in the municipalities. So yeah, so I'm like kind of a mayor and a city manager as well. So yeah, which makes things maybe even more complicated, but we have a great team and we can deal. I think this, like after being through all this, my team can deal with anything. Yes, so we joined and applied for the virtual Peace Corps volunteer program with Suzanne because we thought that Suzanne can have this like perfect angle. She could see like our municipality from outside, but at the same, she knows it very well. So this I would call a strategic look at the municipality, and that's why we now like working on updating our strategy. But also, it's a great opportunity for Alina, who Susanna just mentioned. She is now head of our international relations and communications department in the municipality, and this is a great chance, like. When she talks to Suzanne and she is improving her skills, her English, and this really, really helps very much. And so we not only have this like kind of like family sense connection, but also professional meetings and professional connection.
Great. Speaking of strategy, so I want to go back to a question from Andy, even though it disappeared from the Q&A window. but I still see it in chat.
It's in the
So,
chat.
yeah, I'm doing my second VSPP students in Staro-Konstantinivlo now, and my task is to help these young leaders set life goals. Would you, and here I'm having trouble like seeing the full question.
I can read it
I,
if you'd like.
I
Would
saw
you
it.
suggest,
Sorry,
did you
question?
see it? Would you suggest public service as an elected official as a sound career path for young Ukrainians? And what advice would you give these students on how to begin such a path?
Thank you.
Of course, I would if this question addressed to me, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Of course, I would. First of all our hopes and prayers with the city of Staro-Konstantinov, which is, despite being located in Western Ukraine, is being bombarded constantly, and these kids are having not the best childhood, not that childhood that we would like them to have, that any like person in right mind would like any kids to have. So yes, I hope that Staro-Konstantinov will stay strong, and we'll do our best to support it. And for the younger people, of course, I also feel a little bit of responsibility additionally, that I think I cannot fail as a mayor, because if I fail, this would create this kind of like maybe idea that young people are not welcome to have some leadership positions. And I'm trying to do all I can together with our team to show the opposite. And I think there is a demand for younger people for change. Ukraine has a great value of being open for any changes, and it's a very great asset that we have, and we of course need this younger generation, younger people, to join. And they have what would I suggest? If they're not yet, I would suggest them to join the youth council in their municipality. If they don't have one, to create one, to start one, because right now there are so many opportunities for youth centers and youth councils in Ukraine. Everyone is supporting, state is supporting, municipalities are supporting, international organizations are also promoting and supporting youth councils. We recently had a great chance, maybe we'll talk about it later, but we had a cooperation between our youth councils in our municipality and in Norway, and this opens a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities. And I think this younger people, they have much more chances, despite being bombarded, despite being obliged to go to the bomb shelter where air alarm is on. They also have a great opportunity, and they are also very much needed.
Thank you, Bogdan. I totally agree with you, and I see Suzanne applauding you, and you know we all are. We have three more questions, all addressed to you, Bogdan. If you don't mind, I'll continue with those. So we have a question from Kyle Logan, who serves as a Peace Corps community development Peace Corps volunteer in Ivano-Frankivsk. So for Bogdan, what are the most pressing issues slash challenges in Kopyshyntsi, excluding the full-scale invasion? So you talked a little bit about the the IDPs and the ongoing mobilization, but now we're talking about the issues outside of that. I drove through Kopyshyntsi earlier this year, and I can confirm the roads in Ternopil Oblast are much better than in Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast. Now, Kyle, that was not the case a few years ago. I don't know if they still are, but the Ternopil roads used to be notoriously bad for a while. It's good to know that they've improved. And then we have a next question from David O'Keefe, who's now also serving as a virtual service participant, which is sort of like similar to Kyle's question. Mayor Chavi, what are your top 3 development priorities for Kopyshyntsi? Thank you. So again, what are the most pressing issues and challenges in Kopyshyntsi, and the top 3 development priorities for Kopyshyntsi?
I think that thanks for the questions, of course. I'm not sure that the roads we can compare between the roads in these two regions, and maybe this is a too local aspect to discuss on such a globe stage. But there are some roads that should be improved
It's not your
in both
responsibility as a
regions.
mayor. It is not your
Yeah,
side, like talking. It's just the totally
yeah,
different kind of responsibilities, especially the roads between the oblast, um,
yeah.
side of your community.
That's true as well. And also, we should understand that most of people in Ukraine right now are trying to prioritize their financial spendings on supporting our armed forces, because like this would be no point to do great infrastructure if it will be taken. And yes, we are happy that we have international partners. Um, but I know, like they all live in democratic countries, and the politics can be quite shaky, and it's hard to rely 100% that everything is going to be fine. So we also have to rely on ourselves as well. And we have great social initiatives, great horizontal initiatives that are directed to support our country and our resiliency and resistance. So I guess this, like, there is no point to compare the roads. I hope all roads will be fixed and all roads will be perfect after this all is over. But we're trying to do some infrastructure projects as well in our
Aside
municipality,
from the
inside
roads,
of the municipality.
yeah, aside
Yeah.
from the roads, what are the pressing challenges or issues?
Uh, yeah. So um, I would say maybe this is like too specific, but in Ukraine, we have a very small personal tax, or property tax, and this creates the situation when some people leave the municipality, and some people want to come. We have like people living and people want to come. And logically, this would like work in US when okay, you have the property tax, which is quite high, and then like okay, this motivates people who are living the town to sell or rent out their houses. But this is not the case, because they just like, okay, we don't care, we don't need to do that. And now we have like a lot of new people who want to live here, who want to come, but they have no place to stay, and it's hard to rent anything in good shape. And at the same time, we have just empty houses with nice conditions. So yes, the challenge is how to not make our municipality shrink, but in terms of population, with such a like interesting situation, I would say. Should we try to get more of new development, or should we work around our legislation to motivate this property houses moving more like around people? So I think this is, but yeah, like if we're talking about like, if we're not talking about challenges caused by war, because most of them are caused by war. We have the conscription campaign, we have like to spend a lot of resources we to the war effort to support some military bases. We also have some of our revenues that were local revenues are now redirected to the central government. So we have to find some other ways to get more revenues to fill our budget. But I wouldn't say this is like super like difficult. We are still doing great. We are still grateful, and I think I heard somewhere, like I don't remember where, like I read somewhere recently that there has never been previously in human history a country which is in such a great war, which is still doing so great, because like most of our services are working, our banking services never stopped working. Our country is getting more and more digitalized, and this is also quite great. And we also do this on the local level. We do the electronic workflow, and we do all this like a lot of services we provide electronically. So yeah, I think we're we're fine. There is nothing to complain. We just need to finish the war, and the world would see our hidden potential, as Susanna mentioned.
Mhm.
You know, I'd like to respond to the housing issue, if I may. When I was there in September, Bogdan's brother, Arsene, took me on a tour of a house that was being renovated. Arsene works with an NGO. I think it's a British NGO. And anyway, they were the renovations. I mean, and it's very interesting because, like Bogdan says, the houses that they have access to renovate, they have to do such major renovations because they're in such disrepair. But then there are houses that are in good repair that could be used, that are basically abandoned and not being used. And I think that is definitely a real issue because, you know, there was a time when a lot of people were leaving Kopyshyntsi, as you had mentioned, Roman. You know, young people, they go off, you know, families go off for better opportunities, and they end up not coming back. But people are moving to Kopyshyntsi, and not just because of the war, but primarily because of the war, and they need to have places, comfortable places to live. And I think that is a big issue. And Bogdan, I think when I was there, you had also talked to me about, you know, when you had the first influx of IDPs, that they were staying at the kindergarten. You had totally reworked the kindergarten building into a place for the people to be able to live, and they need to be able to move out of there. Bogdan?
Yes, the quick update. People don't live in the kindergarten anymore. It's not a collective center anymore. Yes, we had some project when we really renovated some of the abandoned houses that were someone's property. This was a difficult project, but we completed it. So people don't live in a kindergarten. We have one more collective center. It's in a church belonged building, but yeah, it's another story, and another like logic, because like sometimes some organizations, some international organizations who are mostly focused on like closing targets, you know, like they don't see people as humans. They just like, okay, we need like to spend this much money to help this much people, so let's bring some food boxes to the collective center and let's maybe promote like living in a collective center. So, and also like build some modular houses and things like that. But we know that this kind of approach often leads to lack of social integration, and we have some experiences in other cities of that, and we try to integrate people as much as possible, and we want our newcomers to distribute them like throughout the town, like so they are not in their own like bubble, in their own world. But this is like a totally different topic that we can talk about it like for hours because we have so much experience in that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't have the hours. We only have about 10 minutes. Questions keep coming in. So basically, to go back to David's question about the top 3 development priorities for Kopyshyntsi, if you can quickly name those, the first those that comes to mind.
So we are right now we are building one building, like we want to make our city hall as a one-stop shop. So we are like adding all on. We now like building a new building, and like in addition to the old one, so all the services are at one place. Second, I would say we want to make some of our municipally owned buildings or facilities more energy efficient or even independent. And first of all, in the focus is our district hospital that is located in our municipality, is owned by our municipality, but it serves other municipalities around. And Suzanne knows it pretty well because she also donated and did some renovations there. And yes, because it consumes a lot of energy, and we want when we have blackouts, it's quite not like this during the times when Suzanne was living in Ukraine, we had blackouts just because of poor management. But right now we have blackouts, maybe much less, but because of war, because Russia is targeting our energy infrastructure, so we want to do as much as possible to be more independent in terms of energy. And third, I would say we really liked this outcome of relocating factory from Kharkiv region of Ukraine. We basically saved that business because it was destroyed like almost entirely. And I think we can do more of that. We can like focus more on economic development, because if we save these businesses that are at such a risk of extinction, we can still keep this economy running of our country. It doesn't matter where it is located, which municipality. It's important that it's located still inside of Ukraine. So we would
Thank
relocate more.
Thank you, Bogdan. And I know Jeff already answered the question from Tamara Denisenko, and that's a really good question. And it's about trauma-informed teaching. This is something that Tamara, as a good friend of Ukraine, has been doing to support Ukrainian children in Dnipro, in the cities of Dnipro and Poltava. So I see Jeff suggested that she contacts him to discuss that and how we can do a webinar on that, but also to tell Tamara that Peace Corps did my colleague Oksana, who is in charge of youth development, and also my colleagues in charge of the education projects. They did a very interesting and several week long training on trauma informed teaching. So if interested, I can direct you to those resources and those trainers that have already conducted this type of training. So Tamara, you can ping me and we'll go from there. We have a question from Catherine Grisak. So what can American mayors and municipality leadership learn agency?
Generally, like we actually have some international sister cities that we're partnering with, and we do a lot of activities and exchange things. But we had an invitation from Sweden once, and also from Norway once, when I was coming and talking about this crisis management on a municipal level. When you have to organize the territorial defense unit, when you have to organize bomb shelters, and when you also have to be prepared for the absence of mobile connection, of electricity, for the blackouts, and all this kind of practical knowledge that I wish I never knew, and I hope it will never be needed. But some of the countries, like in our case, Norway and Sweden, maybe they're like closer to Russia, and they understand the risks more, and they are very open to this knowledge, and maybe this can be also shared, and any other kind of cooperation, we are very welcome. If there is any municipality in United States that would be interested to cooperate with us more closely, we would be more than happy to do and share some of our knowledge.
And if I may, because I think the question was also about the municipalities in the United States, like what can American mayors learn from you, Bogdan? And then the first, even though I'm not a mayor, but I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think what has the full scale invasion has exposed is that a lot of the people with daytime jobs, with day jobs, are also doing a lot of volunteering outside of their like scope
Yeah,
of usually keeping
yeah,
people at night. That may be something.
yes.
Maybe I don't know. Am I right? What would you say? What would you be advice? What would your advice be for you American mayors?
Yeah, what I said, like we can suggest like on this all like crisis management things, but also yes, it's just different that people in Ukraine are. It's okay for them to have some extra load, extra volunteering, and that almost everyone is doing. It's not. I would say it's not normal in Ukraine of not being involved anyhow, like in terms of. I don't know, doing some volunteering or donating, supporting someone's effort. It's like daily habit, and this is a great park, I guess. Like this is a great situation that we have in the society, but I wish this. I wish we were just like lazy and didn't care about anything. But we have to do that because we have to survive, and we know that this is important for us and for our future. So yeah, and also maybe some. Generally, in Ukraine, we are quite internationally oriented, and I think like that we can share some of our knowledge in terms of international projects, international development. I would be also more than happy to share that with any American mayor or municipality that would like to.
Suzanne, do you have anything to add as an American who has been to Kopyshyntsi several times and seen things that we as Ukrainians may not be?
Well, I think that like what I mentioned, the hospital. Before I went there, I solicited funds from my friends, and I think I raised about $5,000 to help with renovation of the hospital's one of their surgical suites, and it's there's things like that, and if you can. I think donating is actually really important, and I think donating for efforts for the front line is very important. Donating to humanitarian centers who are going to send aid to the front line. I think that, yeah, and be a virtual Peace Corps participant.
How about you find us some American mayors to serve as virtual service pilot participants to Ukrainian mayors?
Well,
And then
actually, I think that's right under David O'Keefe's agenda item. That and if he wants to work with me, I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah, but that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, we can totally create a special branch of the special forces within the Peace Corps program.
There you go.
It's about mayor to mayors, virtual service pilot project. We have a question from your host sister, Bogdan, your friend, Kate George. How are international partners supporting Kopyshyntsi? And you've already talked a little bit about Norway and Sweden, and what can you add? Like, how are they already supporting your community?
Oh yeah, so there are a few aspects about that because first of all, any country has a top level government and they having some deals. And for Ukraine, it's crucial to have reliable and good partners. And but again, it can be on a high level. It can be very changeable and very difficult to rely on. That's why, first of all, we try to do this bottom up. We try to do this sustainable effect when we just try to personally know as many, like if we have like a sister city, if we have a partner city, like most of the citizens know most of our citizens, and this is how trust is built and how trust is created. And I hope this will help to advocate and promote Ukraine. And our security situation to their higher levels of government. So this is one way of help. Another one is, of course, like there are some initiatives in our partner cities when they try to support us with some humanitarian aid, with for some social projects, for some military projects, anything, a lot of things. But yes, we are very welcoming this approach. We also do a lot of reports, but also the third way to support us is to work with us, to partner us. And for that, there are a lot of international organizations, a lot of higher level financial resources that can be available. And this could be a win-win for both of the municipalities. So when I think this keeps the longest motivation for our partner municipalities if they know that they can work together with us and they can get some benefits out of this cooperation. So yeah, there are three ways, and we are open for any.
Thank you, Bogdan. I think we're Jeff. You have a comment? Yeah.
Oh, no. I just wanted to let us know we're at the hour. Sarah had to step off. But we have two more questions, Roman, and then I was going to invite Kate to say hello in person. So I just wanted to let you know to thank everybody for being here so far, and we'll continue on a few more minutes. So feel free to go ahead.
Thank you, Jeff. So we will have a chance to see Kate, right? Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Question from Valentin Studs. Stutz. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your last name. Who served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Moldova, and then worked as a private English teacher, and served as a virtual service pilot participant with students and teachers at a school in Kryvyi Rih in the Dnipro Oblast. And she also, in the past year, she completed a Fulbright grant in Germany, and because she originally applied for Fulbright, to revise her proposal due to a full where she conducted a research project on the state of Ukrainian education. So her question is for both Bogdan and Suzanne. Has Kopyshyntsi or surrounding communities, Ternopil Oblast, any return of refugees from any European Union countries? And if so, do you know anything about how they've adjusted back to life in Ukraine after living abroad during the full-scale?
Many.
I
I know
have
many.
one. Oh, I was going to say I have one example is Alina. Alina, who we work with,
Yeah.
she left with her child. I don't know if her husband went or not to
Oh.
Germany. Yeah, she went to Germany, and then after a while she came back, and she came back to Kopyshyntsi because that's where her grandmother is. And so, and I don't know how she came about getting the job with the city, but and I'm sure Bogdan can talk about that. But that's just one example that I know of.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she just applied for the job posting that we posted, and yeah, there are many cases of people coming back, and it's quite okay for them to reintegrate. You know, like previously, before the full-scale invasion, we had a lot of people traveling there and back and for work. We have like visa free with all these European Union countries. So it's quite normal to go and come back. It's just that right now it's a bit more difficult for the conscripting age male population. But still, it's okay. People come back. People get some people don't come back, but a lot of people come back, and I'm happy. And I'm happy that all of the municipality workers and all of the entities that were created by the municipality who left first days of the full-scale invasion, all of them came back. So, and I'm talking about, I don't know, maybe like 50 people, 100 people. It's like that I know. Uh, I don't know everyone in person, of course, but I know a lot of people who came back. But also some people that didn't come back.
Thank you, thank you. And before we give a chance for Kate to join us up on the screen, there's one last question from Marta Schiffer, who's also a virtual service pilot participant. Are foreign investment dollars coming to Ukraine versus just donations?
Mm.
And maybe Bogdan, because you worked for USAID for some time,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
briefly connected with them.
I used to work for the USAID, and they also have, and they even now they have more projects and more programs supporting Ukraine and investing. And we on the local, on the municipal level, we work with very different organizations from very different countries, many different countries, and yeah, there are programs supporting businesses, and this factory that we relocate, we also applied for a bunch of assistance from the state and also from the foreign actors. There are also some projects that are helping business.
Any
Huh?
businesses, any American businesses to Ukraine during the past?
Oh, by the way, yesterday we had one American guy who wants to open a store in Kopyshyntsi. So maybe a very random local story, but he is American and he wants to open the store. So he came to Ukraine 2 years ago, and he's trying like to seize this opportunity and be ready before everyone comes. So yeah, so we'll have like this story is called Home Essentials. So basically,
okay.
they will be selling some home decor and furniture. And I think
like
it will what? Sorry.
no, I like how these American frontier adventurers are in Ukraine and trying to be the first uh, to
Yeah.
open up stores and prepare Ukraine for the people who come back or who will move to Ukraine eventually after the victory.
Yeah. If you see my Facebook story on my profile, you'll see I just reposted on the story the post about him. He posted about like that he wants to open a store, and he made some also. He as a gesture he made some donation to our volunteer center.
Well, and I
Right.
just found out on social media that there is a bakery in Lviv that has opened up a store outside of Atlanta, which I don't know, just random fact, but I think that's pretty cool too. That during these times that Ukrainian businesses are opening in America. Imagine that.
Yeah. Great. Well,
I see Kate coming.
Yay, Kate.
happy.
I have this background up because I'm a volunteer captain on the Harris campaign. So working hard to elect a government that will support Ukraine in the future. Absolutely. So good to see you, Bogdan. And nice to meet you, Suzanne. We've never met in person, but I've heard about you a lot. And Roman, good to see you as well. Great presentation today, and I'm really happy to hear about everything that's going on in Kopyshyntsi.
Great to see you, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with the campaign.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck. Let's do it.
Yes, let's win this. And if any RPCVs out there want to volunteer for the campaign, there is still time. I would be happy to help you. Come on board. And I'm doing phone banking from your home. You can do it. So would love to have more help.
Yep. Thank you, Kate, and thank you for helping with virtual volunteering last year. As soon as I saw your name, I got so excited.
Yes, no, I'm really glad I could make it today. VSPP, and I worked with America House Kiev last year, did a class on environmental projects with high school and university students. We worked on project planning and taking stewardship of the environment. People did projects in their communities. It was an amazing experience for me. And I think, saw a lot of great projects come to life in the Kyiv region.
Hey, Kate, can we put your contact information in the chat so that if I wanted to do phone banking, I could email you?
Absolutely. I'm going to put my email in here, and I would love to hear from you.
Catherine George. Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
Catherine.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I just wanted to point out we're 11 past the hour, and so this has been a very entertaining, and I think we'll call it the homecoming episode.
Yeah.
Anybody gets that reference, since it's been both heartwarming and it's also been informative. I think that the work that's happening, and particularly some of the advice that you gave to our audience about the initiatives and how younger people can take a lead and an active role in shaping and forming governance in Ukraine is particularly moving, and I think something that we can all take something away from, both in Ukraine and in our own respective countries. I want to end tonight thanking Sarah for stepping up and hosting every week. She had to step away, so unfortunately I get to close, or fortunately. I get to play us out. So I would like to just say thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to our guests for being here and making themselves available to us. Welcome, Kate, as a co-host and panelist. And thank you for your service, and for the people who are on still with us. Thank you. I know a lot of you are doing service work in the name of Ukraine and continue to make a good fight. So let's all work together. I'd also encourage you to promote this so that we can get more people to kind of get the information they need to get to make a good case for continuing to support Ukraine and support the efforts of civil society organizations on the ground doing the real work. So thank you to our host, Ramon, as always, an extra job, Olha, and good night. And next week, we have Dr. Breek from Kiev School of Economics. He's a rector there, and he has some very interesting stuff about trust. So I would encourage you to be here for that panel. So anyway,
Thank you,
thank
everyone.
you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Bogdan. Say
Thank
hi to
you.
your family for me, please.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.